We begin in the middle of a deadly battle where a dragon beast is fighting some warriors with rage. A couple of girl knights are seen, and they are having a hard time dealing with the evil dragon. Seeing his power, they worry that the kingdom might be torn to shreds if the dragon continues. It's at that very moment when a man walks up in front of the girls and tells them to leave this job to him. It happens to be our hero Takato, and both the girls cheer loudly for him with smiles on their faces. Takato only has one mission in mind as of now, so he challenges the evil dragon to come at him with all he's got. An intense battle follows between them, but it doesn't take long for our hero to defeat the dragon with ease and even chop off his head. Later in the night, we see everyone dancing and rejoicing over their victory, while the dragon head is just lying there in the background. The blonde girl from earlier shows up with some food for Takato and tells him it's time to dig in. Her name is revealed to be Missile, and our hero thanks her for the meal. Now, the both of them sit together and talk about how exciting it is to finally breathe a sigh of relief from the dragon. Takato also mentions how he had to deal with a drunken girl named Iris on his way here. Takato feels that he can finally calm down and live an easy life. But that is never the case when you are the hero of your land. Suddenly, tons of girls gather around him and call out his name as if they are a part of his fan club. They ask him all kinds of questions ranging from whether he got hurt to whether he was able to actually defeat the evil dragon all by himself. He simply smiles at them and says there's nothing to worry about as long as he has the people of this country on his side. Even something as simple as this is enough to make these girls fall head over heels for him. It leads to a hilarious scene where these girls invite our hero to their homes or to try some food or even to dance right now. It is no mistake to say that he is a player here. Suddenly, Takato vanishes and the girls try to find him so that they can flirt with him again. Missile is able to locate our hero hiding under the table, and he tells her he may have gone a bit overboard by being too flashy. After all, being extra popular is also something to think about. As he says this, Takato hears someone laughing in the background because she seems to have finally located him. She says that there is no way she is backing down now, but our hero is very confused as to what's going on over here. He looks up into the sky to try and understand who this person is, and then we learn that this is another case of a hero reincarnation in another world. Now, we go back in time to see Takato in his original world as a normal boy. He is trying to figure out the settings of his games and sees that they have been set to an ordinary boy reincarnating in another world as a hero. He will be extremely powerful and immensely popular with girls, but he finds this to be a boring setting that he has seen way too many times on Common Guzzlers. However, all of this changes when he gets hit by a truck and has his life ended while others watch on in shock and confusion. When Takato woke up, he found himself in another world, and before he even knew it, he ended up defeating the wicked dragon and established himself as the most powerful hero of this land. Now, we are back to the present where our hero starts dreaming about a mission that was once considered to be impossible. He is confident that he can make this happen, but his intrusive thoughts are making him act weird around Missile. She asks him what's the matter, and then he starts thinking about the shady things he is going to do to his harem once he forms it. Of course, Missile has had enough of his antics, so she shouts at him and asks where he had run off to in between. She expresses how worried she was when he disappeared from sight, and then she sets his clothes properly. Takato does not know how to react to her feelings, but she states that she does not like it when he is away from her. She wants him to consider how she feels about him, and she becomes very emotional during this time. Our hero realizes that he has messed up, so he tries to console Missile, but it's a bit too late for that. He says sorry to her multiple times and asks if there is anything he can do to make things right. She waits for a moment and then asks him to wait for her at the flower field on the outside of town. Takato wonders what this could be about, and all kinds of intrusive thoughts run wild in his mind. However, Missile is not going to reveal anything just yet. and she tells him that he will be the one who has to wait for the big reveal now. She says that she will see him later, and there is something important that she would like to talk about with him. Of course, Takato does not do anything suspicious in front of Missile right now. But in his head, he feels that this has to be the time when the cute girl confesses her feelings for the hero. This is great news for him because he's been meaning to do shady things to Missile for a while. Since this is what he's expecting from Missile, he decides to hurry up and meet her at the spot she has decided for them. Soon enough, he is at the flower garden, and it looks like a very beautiful spot. There is no one here yet, so Takato thinks about how he is going to flirt with Missile. He even considers a few lines, but goes against them after realizing he might sound a bit too cheesy. He can sense a very strong and pleasant smell all of a sudden, and it happens to be Missile who is hugging him from behind. She is holding him tight, so he becomes a bit nervous and asks her what she is doing. Missile asks Takato if it's true that he's planning to leave her country, and this makes him silent. He tells her that he has no other choice but to leave because there are a lot of people in this world that are still in trouble. Of course, his main reason is to explore the other beautiful girls in other parts of the kingdom. But he can't expose that shady side to Missile just yet. Somehow, it seems that Missile can read his thoughts. So she tells our hero that she feels bad for the girls whose hearts he is going to break. Takato feels that this is the deciding moment for him. But then Missile says that everything has already been decided. She seems to have a shady smile on her face, which looks a bit suspicious. But then she asks if she can come along with Takato for his mission. Of course, he happily says yes to it, and things look promising for this potential couple. Missile is glad to be with our hero, and Takato is jumping around with joy inside his mind because he has already managed to land one cute girl for his heroine harem. Now, Missile asks Takato if he remembers the first time the two of them had met, but it seems to make him a bit nervous. He says yes, but also states that it is a bit of an unexpected question. Suddenly, Missile prepares her feet for something, and then she asks Takato if he remembers the time he was hit by a truck. At first, our hero says yes, but then he realizes that something is up, because this was something that happened in his previous life. He asks Missile what's going on, but before he can understand anything, he is smacked down with an attack from his harem girl. Our hero tries to get back up, but he is unable to do so as he lies around all the flowers. It's at this time when Missile asks him why he did not find any people around over here. She answers the question herself by revealing the flowers in this area are all poisonous, which means that Takato is in a very difficult spot right now. She states that these flowers have the ability to lure living beings toward them, and then put them to sleep for their nourishment. She then states that our hero has found himself inside a similar situation, but she refers to him as Takayoshi, and not Takato. He is shocked to hear this because it happens to be his real name from his original world. He asks Missile how she knows this name, and then it leads him to wonder who she really is. That's when we see Missile's true form, which is that of an evil schoolgirl in a modern uniform. This outfit looks like something that is from Takato's original world. So things are getting very confusing right now. Our hero says that his Missile is supposed to be a cute girl who does not know anything about his past or his real name. She is supposed to be a kind and soft girl, so there is no way she can be so evil. It's at this moment when Missile laughs at Takato once more and mocks him for liking such sweet and innocent girls. It gave her the chance to trick him by taking on such an appearance. Of course, Takato is extremely confused right now, so he wants an answer for everything that is going on. Missile decides to stop teasing him so much and explain everything in a way that he will understand. Our hero gets the shock of his life when he learns that Missile is actually the same girl who hit him with the truck back when he was in the original world. A flashback shows us the exact same girl driving straight into Takato with an evil smile on her face. Our hero now realizes what is going on, and the look on his face is indeed a bothered one. She then reveals that she was also reincarnated into this world along with Takato, and she happened to become the kingdom's priest apprentice by sheer luck. She then reveals that she knows Takato was talking to other girls despite being with her. And this holds true for our hero because he himself has admitted to his crimes. Being easily distracted by cute and curvy girls seems to be a problem for him in his past life as well as his current life. Missile says she can't believe her lover boy wants to build a harem for himself and cheat on her. So she picks up his sword and takes it out for what can only be assumed to be a finisher move. She says that she wants Takato to love her like he did the first time they met. Because being loved is the happiest thing for our hero as per Missile. Of course, Takato calls her a crazy psychopath. But even if that were true, his words do not have any effect on Missile. She has had enough of playing games and wants to take revenge on our hero for cheating on her. So she raises his own sword at him and prepares to strike. Takato takes a defensive position and asks her to stop. But it's too late, as it is implied that Missile struck him with his sword to end it all. She also tells him that he should not love anyone else but her. And then the screen fades to black. Now, we oddly shift to a school building that looks like it is from our hero's original world. He is seen hiding under a desk, and he cries out to Missile again and again, asking her not to end him. Soon enough, he realizes that he is not in front of his psychotic ex any longer, and he looks around to see where he has been transported. As he tries to figure out the location, a girl approaches him and wishes a good morning. She greets Takato by his real name of Takayoshi, and there is a strong beam of light that is being emitted from her presence. She has a smile on her face, which means that she should be friendly. And this is more than enough to put Takato at ease. The girl reveals her name to be Shuna and further states that she is the goddess in charge around here. This is all it takes for Takato to leap in joy and come at her with happiness. Of course, Shuna is not really interested in hugging him, so she unleashes her powers to trap Takato in some strings of cloth. He is now hanging upside down and makes some random noises, so the goddess asks him if he has calmed down now. Takato can't contain his excitement, so he asks Shuna if he is going to be reincarnated to another world yet again. She confirms this, and then he asks if he will be given a cheat ability as well. Shuna says yes to this too. And then Takato pushes his luck by asking if he will be surrounded by beautiful girls and form his own harem as well. Surprisingly, the goddess says that such things will be possible for him, and it leads Takato into thinking that what he had experienced before was nothing more than a bad dream. However, this is when Shuna turns to demon mode and tells him that he was most definitely not in a dream. She has a scary look on her face as she says this, and it causes Takato to panic. The cloth strips are not able to hold him any longer, so they tear off as he falls from top to bottom. Now, Shuna tells him that she will keep this particular memory of his preserved. She also adds that if Takato continues to experience loss, then things will most likely remain the same as before. Our hero is a bit confused by what the goddess is telling him, but he does not have the time to stick around and ask questions, as a portal is being opened right under him. Shuna tells him that this is the moment for him to prove his worth. But before he drops from the portal, he asks her what she meant when she said that things would be the same as before. This is when the goddess reveals that there will be a yandere in his reincarnated world. A yandere is basically someone who gets so attached to another person that they will never be able to let them go, even if it means ending their life if they get attached to someone else. This is pretty much what had happened with Missile in Takato's past life, so it's not good news for him at all. He panics and begs the goddess to reincarnate him in another world because he really wants to enjoy being with a harem. Shuna says that she did want to do that initially, but after seeing how things turned out with Missile, she feels that it would be interesting to give it another shot. With that, our hero drops down from the portal, and he calls Shuna a monster for toying with his life, just for the sake of some entertainment. She simply says that she is a goddess, so such things make no difference to her at all. Now, Shuna checks out her live feed and we can see some cute girls on it. As Takato falls into his new world, she wonders what will be next for him. Now, we move to the new world where Takato has been reincarnated, and he wakes up in the middle of a forest. At first, he feels like it's all a dream, but then it hits him that everything is real, and he has indeed been reincarnated into another world. He notices that his clothes and belongings are all the same as they were in his past life, and he is glad to have his sword with him too. Having said that though, he remembers that Missile had indeed taken his life with the very same sword back in his past life. He can't believe that she was a Yandir, and then he thinks back to all the scary things she was saying to him. He admits that it's his own fault for getting distracted so easily. But then he wonders why Missile was talking to him, as if it was his duty to give her his full love and share it with no one else. Missile was speaking almost as though they have known each other for ages, so Takato gets his brain working as fast as he can. There does not seem to be anyone else in his class who had a massive crush on him. And having the same uniform on all the girls is only making things harder for our hero. He then concludes that the girl reincarnated as Missile is nothing more than a stalker, and he is sure that he has read manga comics that have dealt with such characters. Maybe it's a case of someone who was promised Takato's hand in marriage back when she was young. She could also be a long-lost sister, a fiancé from an arranged marriage, or maybe their sleeves just brushed together once, and it has led to this unfortunate situation. Takato can't deal with this because there is way too much on his head right now. The important thing for him now is what the evil goddess had told him about a Yandir being in this world as well. Takato knows for sure if Missile is reincarnated into this world as a Yandir girl again, then she is going to mess up his harem project, which is something he has been working on for quite a while. In reality, Takato had decided that he would surround himself with cute girls and form a harem no matter what the cost. So he is ready to do the same, even if there is a Yandir girl out to get him somewhere. He wants to flirt and do shady things to as many girls as possible, so he is going to turn his dreams into a reality. Our hero then declares to us that he is the protagonist of this series, and he is in a position where he can neither run away from or hide from the Yandir girl. The moment he says this, he hears something creeping up from behind, so he cries like a little girl and runs away from the scene. In a hilarious reveal, we see that the noise was just caused by a cute rabbit. After the coast is clear, Takato comes across a signboard, but he is not able to understand the text on it since it is in the native language. Either way, it looks like there might be people around because the road in front of him has been made by someone. He then comments on how he was blindly running away from something he did not even realize. However, he feels like someone is coming close to him, and he wonders if it is a cute girl. Suddenly, a cute girl does appear out of nowhere, but she jumps on top of our hero, which is something he did not expect to see. She lands right on top of him, and her soft pillows land perfectly on his face. Takato can sense the softness of heaven, but he does not understand what has led to this girl jumping on top of him. After a few seconds, the girl comes to her senses, and then she figures that she is on top of an unknown man. She immediately apologizes for what she has done, and asks Takato if he is injured. Of course, his mind is completely somewhere else, because not only is this girl cute, she also happens to be an elf, which is a bonus. Takato says he's fine, and then the girl turns behind to check if something is chasing her. Our hero is stuck in his own dream world filled with intrusive thoughts, so he asks the elf girl if all is well with her. However, she states that she was caught up with something dangerous and is trying to escape it. At this very moment, we see a deadly wolf monster showing up, which suggests that this was the beast the elf girl was running away from. The breed of this beast seems to be called a Svalgarm, and the elf girl laments how hard it is to defeat such monsters. This is not the time to just stand there and watch, so Takato tells the elf girl to get out of here as soon as she can. However, as she is about to make an escape, she twists her leg and injures herself, so things are not looking good for her. the wolf monster pounces on her with all his might and is about to make a meal out of the elf girl. But at that very moment, Takato decides to show off his powers, and he slices the beast in half. It's an impressive display of strength that even impresses the elf girl as she just sits there and watches it all unfold. With the beast defeated, Takato stands there and strikes a heroic pose so that he can show off in front of the elf girl. He then turns around and asks her if she is all right, but she can only watch him with amazement in her eyes. Now, Takato checks out his body movements because his execution was a bit too smooth. He knows this was a move he had learned in his previous life, but the fact that he was able to use it so easily is still a bit shocking. Anyway, he shifts his focus to the fact that he is able to understand what the elf girl is telling him. This means that he should be able to communicate in elf language. The girl is still looking at him with amazement, so he asks her if she is all right. She starts to thank him for saving her life, so he asks her if she is able to understand the words that are coming out of his mouth. The elf girl seemingly confirms this when she thanks him once again and reveals her name to be Ria. She happens to be the daughter of the village chief of a place called Muravu. She says that she will forever remain indebted to our hero, but he says it's no big deal. He also introduces himself, and he uses his real name of Takayoshi. Of course, this is not a normal name in the current world, so Ria asks him where he is from. Takato does not really know how to begin his explanation, so he tells her that he has actually come from a land that is far away. Ria is still a bit clueless, but then Takato asks her if her leg is okay. She says it's not too bad, and she will be able to heal the injuries quite easily with medicines and herbs. Our hero is relieved to hear this, but then it also strikes him that medicines and herbs are a thing in this world. Of course, it reminds him of the horrid experience he had with Missile in his past life, where she trapped him with poisonous flowers and then took his life when he was subdued. Takato is not feeling well at this moment, so the elf girl asks him if all is well. He puts his hand on hers, and this makes Ria a bit nervous, so she asks him if he knows something suspicious. Takato says it's nothing and proceeds to use the herbs to work on Ria. He also apologizes to her for acting weird since he can't really shake off what Missile had done to him. Even so, it does not change the fact that Ria is a very pretty girl who is worthy of his intrusive thoughts. As he holds her hand, the elf girl becomes shy and blushes because this is considered to be an intimate gesture. Our hero can't believe that such a cute elf girl with blonde hair even exists because such people are very rare in every world. He even feels that Ria's cuteness is intense to the point where it might be suspicious. There's also the fact that her soft pillows are massive, and it looks like they are still growing, which is simply ridiculous. Ria is a bit embarrassed by what is going on, so Takato can feel a sense of strangeness in what is going on right now. He figures that he will need to be more careful in this world, as he can't allow his intrusive thoughts to take over. Ria makes cute and shy faces as her savior holds her hand and looks at it with an intense passion. Now, Ria uses the herbs around her to cure her leg, and she does so in a matter of mere seconds. She is happy and cheerful after completing the healing, and she jumps around to celebrate. Of course, this kind of magic is impressive, and it makes Takato want to learn more about her. He asks the elf girl if she used magic right now on her leg, but she does not seem to know what that word means. She says she just used a rune, but Takato has never heard of such a word before. Ria is shocked that a man as strong as Takato does not know what runes are, so he wonders if it is supposed to be common knowledge in this world. Our hero realizes he shouldn't make the elf girl more worried, so he decides to come out with the truth and speak facts. He tells her that he is actually from another world, but then he realizes how risky that might sound, so he ends up switching it around and saying he's from another country. He adds that his place is on the far east side of the world, and he has actually come here to strengthen his side's acquaintance with this side of the world. All of this seems to be going over the elf girl's head, So Takato senses that there might be a huge misunderstanding here. He decides to change the subject and focus on the runes again. So he asks Ria if he can learn how to use them. Her eyes light up, and she says that if the aptitude is correct, then it can be done right away. Suddenly, someone calls out to Ria, and it happens to be her grandpa. He tells her that it's been too long for him as an old herbalist. And then he takes a look at Takato. He exercises caution and asks him who he is. So Takato once again uses his real name of Takayoshi to make an acquaintance. He then goes on to say that he is going to find out his aptitude for runes, and Ria holds a small herb close to his body to begin the checkup. She tells him to hold the herb, and he does this. The grandpa tells Ria that they should talk since a girl named Iri is coming. As it so happens, Iri does show up at this exact moment, and she calls out to Ria, telling her that it's taken a while to find her. She explains that since Ria did not come back on time, she got very worried, which was why she set out looking for her in these woods. The elf girl is pleased to see Iri, as is Takato, but that's only because he finds her cute as well. As his intrusive thoughts run loose, he wonders what kind of relationship Ria and Iri share with each other. From the looks of it, they seem to be very close, almost as if they are childhood friends. Iri is still upset with Ria for being careless and wandering off without any supervision. But then things become a bit awkward after she sees the elf girl holding hands with Takato. Of course, this is for the aptitude test, and we can see that both of them are actually holding the herb flower together. But Iri does not seem to understand that. Our hero worries that he will become the subject of yet another misunderstanding now. But it's too late for him to make any corrections to what has already been seen. Iri assumes a battle stance and proceeds to draw out her sword. So Ria tries to explain who Takato really is. However, Iri is not going to listen to any logic now, and she charges at our hero with angry intent. She even says that he will have to go through her if he wishes to be with Ria. So Takato tries to explain that it's not what it looks like. It's too late for talking, so he has to settle it somehow. And in this case, it has to be a sword fight. He wants to make sure he looks cool while defeating Iri because that way, he will impress her as well and probably start a harem with her and Ria. However, as he is about to defend himself, Takato has yet another traumatic moment where he sees Iri as Missile trying to attack him. This causes our hero to panic, and he lets out a huge scream just before Iri is about to strike him. His scream seems to activate something inside the herb he is holding as it starts to glow with intensity. Iri is a bit surprised by this, and she backs away upon noticing the massive burst of energy. It almost forms like some kind of explosion that covers up everything around our hero. The others brace for impact as they try to resist the energy waves being emitted from this phenomenon. Ria has no idea what's going on, but her grandpa has to keep her safe, so he uses his powers to create a barrier for them. He suddenly realizes that the energy being released is because of the rune reaction to Takato. As the dust clears, he can see the herb flower turning into a giant plant, and he is taken aback by the immense skill and talent our hero possesses. An aerial view shows us just how deadly this energy blast was, as the giant plant is almost as tall as a building. Takato was knocked out by the power burst, but he soon opens his eyes to see what has happened. He wonders if he messed up again like he did against Missile in his past life, and he laments the fact that he has become overly sensitive and scared of the woman who betrayed him. He has to be more careful in this world, otherwise it will be bad news for him. He is on the ground and can feel something on top of him, but when he checks it out, he realizes that Iri is actually in an awkward position with him. At first, Iri does not seem to realize what has happened, so Takato is relieved about it. But she soon sees where she has landed, and it causes her to go crazy. Iri immediately gets up and kicks our hero in the face while calling him a shady demon. But all he can do is reiterate that this is nothing more than a big misunderstanding. Ria rushes to Iri and asks her if she is all right, after which she asks Takato the same thing. He says all is well, but the huge lump on his head says a completely different story. Ria then asks who won the duel because nobody could see anything due to the smoke. After seeing the look on Eri's face, Ria starts to laugh, and it makes her conscious. She wants to know if Ria has already figured out what has happened, and she says yes. The elf girl then declares the match to be in Eri's favor, after which she asks our hero if he would like her to do some teasing. He does not know what she means, so the elf girl turns to Eri and says it's too bad that our hero lost the match. After all, if she had lost, then she could have taken Takato as her husband. This makes her blush, and she instantly states that no one would like to be married to a man like Takato. Ria counters that she's only saying it because Takato did not beat her, and Eri starts to lose her mind over this conversation. Ria states that Eri has always been strong, and she is pretty much unbeatable at this point. Of course, our hero knows that he would have beaten her easily if he had not panicked upon thinking about Missile. Ria further calls back to the time when Eri had promised only to marry someone who is stronger than her. This makes sense to Takato now, and he is just glad to have avoided all this drama. Eri herself does not know how to deal with the situation, and Takato feels that he should be careful around her. If things go haywire, then it could be very likely for Eri to become the new Yandir of this world for him. However, upon second thought, he figures that Eri is not the only girl he should be scared of. Even Ria could turn out to be the Yandir, which means that our hero has to be worried about not one, but two girls. It is very much possible for even the both of them to be reincarnations of Missile. So the coast is not at all clear for Takato. He eventually convinces himself that only one of these girls is a Yandir. But then he starts to get anxious about which of them is the villain. It could be Eri because of her attitude towards him. But then again, even Ria reminded him of Missile when he first met her as an innocent girl. Takato wonders if he will simply lose out to women just by talking to them, as the Yandir problem does not look like it's going anywhere. It's basically hopeless for him to have any fantasies about a harem, because one way or another, he will be ended by an angry lover girl. His state of mind is so fragile right now that even Ria asks him if he is feeling okay. As a matter of fact, Eri also shows some concern towards our hero, and both the girls wonder if they should take him to their village so that he can be treated. Later, we see Takato waking up in a bed inside a room he has no knowledge of whatsoever. He looks around to understand where he has exactly been brought, and that's when he remembers that he had collapsed in the forest while thinking about the Yandir girl. If that's the case, then it means he has been brought to the elf village where Ria and Eri stay. As he looks out the window, Takato comments on how amazing it is for the elves to still live inside the forest. As he explores this new village from the comfort of his bed, Ria walks in looking cuter than ever, now that she has a maid outfit on. Our hero is blown away by her beauty, and his intrusive thoughts go wild yet again. But then he remembers that the elf girl could very well be a reincarnation of Missile. He goes crazy again simply thinking about the fact that Ria could be a Yandir, and he is immediately tempted to buy her. She is about to take his temperature and leans into his body, but Ria gets a bit too close for comfort. Our hero's mind is completely focused on how close he is to the elf girl as she tries to take his temperature. It will not be a surprise if his body heat is high, because he can smell her properly from here, and it is very pleasant. He can almost feel her soft pillows as well, so he wonders if it will be okay for him to touch them. Not just that, their lips are so close to each other that they might as well kiss too. However, before Takato can act on his intrusive thoughts, he remembers Missile yet again and becomes extremely cautious. He starts to pant, and this is a cause of concern for Ria because his body temperature has suddenly gone extremely high. As a matter of fact, it feels as if the energy is boiling all over his body. Basically, he does not want the elf girl to notice anything shady, so he tells her that he is going out for a run. Ria is left feeling puzzled by his behavior, and she feels that she might have come on a bit too strong for him. Outside the house and near the river, our hero drops to the ground and laments how he is not able to enjoy his life right now. On the one hand, it is a dream come true for him as Ria is being so nice and sweet. However, on the other hand, Takato has to worry about her being the Yandere as well. Of course, the main person to blame for all of this is none other than the goddess Shuna, and Takato calls out to her because he knows she is watching this and enjoying every second of it. In a hilarious sequence, Shuna does show up and reveals that she has indeed been keeping an eye on him this whole time. Our hero is naturally a bit concerned to see her pop up so easily, and he worries that he might anger her. So he says that she is looking very beautiful today. He then asks the goddess to kindly grant him his humble request. But Shuna does not look at him as some kind of big hero. Takato is behaving more like a small fry. So the goddess tells him it's all fine, and he should be able to learn from the mentality of people like the Yandere. Of course, Takato tells her not to say such stupid things because no smart man would ever want to learn from a psychotic ex. He has been ended first with a truck, and then with poison, so there's no telling what may happen next for him. He is even ready to set aside his wish for a harem, just so that he can have some kind of realistic argument with Shuna. The goddess says that none of this will matter because the Yandere has set her sights on our hero, and there is no way that she will back down. Takato doesn't seem to get this, so the goddess explains that the Yandere's love transcends the world. She will continue to find herself in the same space as Takato, and it does not matter how many times she gets reincarnated into another world. Fate has made it in such a way that even Takato will end up falling in love with the Yandere and pursuing her in each and every one of his lives. Our hero does not like what he is hearing, but then Shuna decides to make it a bit interesting by asking him if he would like to play some games with her. He wants to know more about this, so Shuna explains that she is a goddess who has to treat everyone equally and fairly. Due to this, she can't exactly side with Takato or even the Yandere girl. However, if our hero were to see it through with the Yandere and defeat her with Shuna's help, then she would be more than happy to join forces with him. Takato is a bit surprised to hear this, so he asks Shuna if she is being serious. The goddess says yes, because if the Yandere keeps reincarnating multiple times, then it will be a problem for the management of her own world as well. She also suggests attaching some kind of a condition to seal the deal with the Yandere, such as a vow, a kiss, or a marriage. In this case, the Yandere will have accomplished her mission, and then Shuna can have her banished properly. It's fair and square in the eyes of the goddess, but Takato does not see how he wins over here. She tells him not to look at it as a sour puss, because he does have the cheat ability we saw earlier. It's the same skill that caused that massive plant to grow, and it is called attribute magic. Shuna goes on to explain to Takato that there are endless magic skills in this world, and he can use them all to his advantage. Having heard this, Takato brings a smile to his face and says that he can indeed make a difference this time while taking on the Yandere. He is ready to play this game because if he wins, then he will finally be able to create the harem he has always wanted to make. Shuna is pleased to see Takato's attitude towards this challenge, and she feels that watching him will be a lot of fun. Now that they have decided on how to go about things, the goddess decides to give some advice to our hero. We do not see what advice it is that she gives him, because the next scene is Takato coming back to Ria's house. She is happy to see that he's back, and it happens to be perfect timing since she has just finished making lunch. We notice that Iri is also here, so Takato has to be a bit careful. He does not want to cause any drama, so he says sorry to Iri for being in an awkward position with her the other day. She says it's all good because our hero did end up saving the Lord's daughter. He can consider the meal to be a token of their gratitude, so he decides to take Iri up on that offer. After he sits down, Iri tells him that she will discuss the current situation with him and Ria. The elf girl becomes conscious after hearing this, so she asks Iri to be a bit more considerate. She does not back down from her stance because she has a duty to fulfill. On top of that, Ria is the daughter of the Lord, so she can't exactly entrust her to any random swordsman. Of course, Takato is running all kinds of simulations in his mind at this time, and he will have to think about creating various settings and designs as per what Shuna had told him. We learned that the goddess had offered Takato some tips on how to identify a Yandir girl. However, before he can tell us what that method is, we can see a spoon of food approaching him. Our hero is a bit confused at first, but then he sees that Ria is the one who is offering it to him. This is not just a shocker for him, but also for Eri and Ria's grandpa, as everyone spits out whatever they were eating at this point. Eri wastes no time in getting up from her seat and asking the elf girl what she is doing. Ria reasons that she is only feeding food to Takato, which is something she does with all the kids in the village too. That might be logical to her, but Eri points out that our hero is not a kid, but rather a man with shady intentions. On the other hand, this is a good chance for Takato, because if he does end up eating from Ria, then it will make the Yandir girl extremely upset. Of course, if either of Eri or Ria turns out to be a Yandir, then it will be a huge problem for him, but he is ready to take that risk. Ria asks Eri if this is not something that adults normally do, but then Takato makes his move and eats the food before the elf girl can change her mind. Both Eri and Ria pause for a moment to digest what has just happened, and it looks like Eri is the one who has gotten upset from it the most. She lashes out at our hero, and she's so loud that the rest of the village is able to hear her even from a long distance. Now, we move back in time to when Shuna and Takato were having their chat about the Yandir girl. The goddess told him that he should be looking out for a particular approach, but it confused him. Shuna then explained that the Yandir girl was indeed lurking around this world as a resident, but under disguise. Even so, there would be times when she would reveal her true nature, which would be crucial for our hero to notice. Shuna then took the example of Missile, who was the Yandir girl in his past life. She asked Takato if he had noticed anything odd about her behavior, now that he was looking back in hindsight. That's when he realized that whenever he would feel lonely, she would end up from somewhere to offer him comfort. This was seen best when he was at the flower field, and she showed up from behind to hug him. Normally, this would be considered extremely bold behavior, which was not something Missile was known for. Shuna then explained that as long as the Yandir girl liked Takato, then he would definitely get approached by her. When that happens, the best thing for him to do would be to act completely natural around the Yandir. The key to note here is that if Takato were to create a harem and get involved with multiple girls, then it would make the Yandir girl extremely upset, and it could lead her to some unnecessary measures. Takato's life would be in the most danger if he actually made the harem and did shady things to other girls. In that case, he could easily get stabbed in the back without him even realizing what had happened. Now, we move back to the present where Takato tells himself that he will have to risk it all for the sake of love. He tells Ria that the food is tasty, and it makes the elf girl happy, but the same can't be said about Eri. She proceeds to ruin the mood by placing her hand on our hero's shoulders in a menacing way. Ria also notices this and gets a bit confused, so she asks Eri what the matter is. To Takato, this is good enough to confirm that Eri is indeed the culprit Yandir he is looking for. He is then asked by Eri to give a proper introduction, because she is done waiting for him to finish his food. This is not good news for him, and he also wonders if it's too soon for him to make such an important decision on the Yandir. He decides to sit down and listen to the girls give him some background information on this place. Eri says that her family name is Alhuma, and their family members are the lords of this region. She also happens to be the captain of the knights entrusted with the security of the Mid-Whale village. Ria repeats that she is the granddaughter of the village chief, and she adds that Eri and she are childhood friends. There is no point in taking any risks right now, so Takato is simply going to observe both the girls as of now. The village chief also introduces himself as Zia, and then Takato talks about himself. When it comes to identifying the Yandir, he starts to think about who the actual woman could be who had started this whole mess in the first place. Suddenly, Shuna shows up and asks our hero why he is thinking so much about this mess. After all, he does not have a great personality. So that could also be the reason for his problems. It turns out that we're actually in the flashback from earlier again, where the goddess and Takato were talking about the Yandere girl. He admits that it's a bit of a problem to keep referring to this woman as a Yandere, or even as Missile, who was just the most recent reincarnation. It would be best to give this girl a title, which would mean that Takato would have to give her real name. Of course, Shuna does not know how this will make much of a difference, because the name of a person is only applicable to the world that gave her that specific name. Since the Yandere girl has been reincarnated so many times, it would be hard to give her one specific name. But Takato argued that he could give the first ever name that she had, right when she was first born. Shuna further explained that the Yandere girl was indulging in a phenomenon known as transference. As per her knowledge, the original name of this girl was Missile because she only got involved from this world. However, Takato explained to her that he was in another world before meeting Missile. So the girl from that world would be the original Yandere. That's when we learned that this villain's original name is Kokuji Kurohime. It was at this time that Takato promised to make sure he would find Koku, no matter what the cost. Now, we move back into the present day, where Iri is striking a pose with her eagle to look cool. Takato comes to the scene and asks for her, but she looks back at him with anger because he did not add a respectful suffix. Our hero calls her Iri-chan, and then she asks him what he needs. He says that he just wants to chat for a bit. But his real mission is to get as much information as possible from Iri now that she is a potential Yandere. Exposing this person is the main mission given to him by Shuna. So he figures that talking to his suspects actively will help him a great deal with uncovering the villain. He takes a look at the eagle and realizes that it is not a bird of war, but rather a carrier pigeon. Iri explains that she has written a message to her father, asking him to arrest any suspicious people in the village and bring them to the city. There is no context for this yet, but Takato acts very interested and says that he would like to help her out with this mission. He gives the reason that having suspicious people is a dangerous thing, but in his mind, he knows that this is the best way to try and get closer to Iri. She is pleased to hear his intentions, and she says that it's nice to see someone with such determination. Our hero does not understand why Iri is being so accommodating all of a sudden, but since it's suspicious to be around her anyway, he decides to play along. He asks her what he should do next, so Iri says that he should put his hands in front of him. He does not do it at first, so she says that if he's feeling anxious, then she is ready to hold his hand to make him feel better. Takato is glad to hear this, so he puts his hands up immediately. But then he is put into cuffs in a rather hilarious scene. He looks completely baffled and bamboozled as the guards come from behind to tail him away. This is when we learn that it was always Iri's plan to have our hero arrested. Now, we shift to the carriages that are being driven to town, and in one of them, we see Takato with his hands tied like a proper prisoner. He asks Iri why he is being taken to town like this, so she tells him it's because of trespassing. Ria is also there, and she does not understand what the problem is with Takato, so Iri explains that entering the village without permission is a serious crime. She even got Zia to agree to it. And then she adds the massive burst, if magic, that Takato had released in the forest. Of course, there's no problem with that, but she did end up on top of him, so that has annoyed her a lot. Ria thinks that is not a good enough reason, and our hero only thinks about the color of Iri's undergarments. But the night girl stands her ground. Takato tells Iri that even if she wants to arrest him, it does not make sense to have so many guards just for him. He is not a violent person at all, and yet she does not trust him. She counters that the guards are also escorting a lot of traded goods, such as fruits, vegetables, medicines, and a lot of other valuable items that are at risk of being stolen by monsters. Takato now sees the sense of this convoy, and he wonders how well Iri's dad must be managing his town. After all, if he has so many items heading his way, then his town should be good for trading. He asks Iri if business is thriving at her place, and she says that it is doing so well that it can even be compared to the status of the capital city of the kingdom. Soon enough, everyone can see their target destination, which is the trading city of Sami. How is our hero going to get himself out of this mess? Also, can he be sure that Eri is the Yandir? Or is she just an annoyed girl with an attitude problem? What about Ria? Could she be the main culprit all along? Like, share, and subscribe if you want to know how the story unfolds. Give this video some love, and I'll upload part 2 as well. Until next time, see you.